Welcome to Daily Speak English channel, English podcast for easy English conversation.
Daily Speak English, your cozy little place to learn English through real, everyday conversations. How to improve your English speaking skills. Hosts Maya and Daniel, level B1 to C1. So I'm at a dinner party, 8 people around the table, everyone's laughing, the conversation is flying, and I'm following everything. Every joke, every story, I'm nodding, I'm smiling, I get it. And then someone turns to me and goes, Daniel, what do you think? And I felt it. That thing, my chest just tightened. And what came out of my mouth was, I'm not kidding, yes, is very nice. That's it. Yes is very nice about a conversation that had absolutely nothing to do with anything being nice. Oh no, I know that feeling exactly. The words are right there. You can almost see them and then they just dissolve.
And the awful part is, you know you knew better. In my head, I had a whole opinion, a real one, in English. It just didn't make it out.
I had this at a doctor's appointment once. She asked me to describe my symptoms, and I said, my body is sad inside. My body is sad inside to a doctor.
But that's not a language problem. You weren't missing the words.
No, that's exactly it. This isn't about vocabulary. It isn't about grammar. It's about something that happens between knowing and saying. Today, we're going to talk about that gap, the space between knowing English and actually being able to speak it. Hello and welcome. I'm Maya.
And I'm Daniel, and this is Daily Speak English, your cozy little place to learn English through real, everyday conversations.
We're really glad you found us. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly why your speaking freezes even when your English is actually pretty good, what fluency really is, because it is not what most people think, the one daily habit that builds speaking confidence faster than any grammar book, and why the thing you're probably doing right now to improve your English might actually be slowing your speaking down.
This works for you whether you're B1, B2, or C1. All of that applies.
And later, we'll share a simple daily practice that listeners keep writing to us about. They keep saying it changed things for them in ways they didn't expect. We'll get to that. Stay with us. The first truth. Okay, can I say something that might be a little bit uncomfortable?
Please.
Most people who struggle to speak English are not struggling because their English is bad. They're struggling because speaking English in front of a real person in real time is a completely different skill from understanding English. And nobody tells you that. Nobody says, hey, these are actually two separate things. You've been training one, but the one that matters in a conversation is the other one.
Right, and we spend years training the wrong one. We study, we read, we listen, all of which is wonderful and genuinely useful. But then we expect to open our mouths and speak, and we're surprised when it doesn't feel as natural as reading does. Because reading is private. Speaking is public. Speaking happens in real time, and it can't be deleted. That's it, actually. You can't backspace a conversation. The reason your speaking lags behind your understanding is not a language problem. It's a practice problem.
A personal story. So, can I tell you about the exact moment I understood this? Because it was not a good moment, but it was the most useful one.
Tell me.
I was in an English class, a conversation class specifically, and the teacher asked us to discuss something. I don't even remember what. And I had thoughts. I genuinely had things I wanted to say. So I opened my mouth. And what came out was this very slow, very careful, extremely grammatically correct sentence. And by the time I finished it, the whole conversation had moved on. Everyone was talking about something else. And I just sat there with my perfect sentence going absolutely nowhere.
Oh, that's painful.
It was. And the teacher came over afterwards and said something I've thought about ever since. She said, Maya, your English is fine, but you're editing while you're speaking. And you can't do both at the same time.
Editing while speaking. Yes.
And she was right. I was so focused on getting it correct that I lost the flow. And there's a word for that thing I was missing. Fluency. And fluency, I learned that day, has almost nothing to do with being correct. Fluency just means the words keep coming. It means the tap doesn't stop.
Which is so different from how we usually think about it. Most people think fluency means sounding like a native speaker, but that's not it. Fluency is just continuity, the ability to keep going.
And you can be fluent and still make mistakes. You can be fluent with an accent. You can be fluent and use simple words. As long as you don't stop, you're being fluent. Fluency isn't about being correct. It's about keeping the tap running.
An unexpected metaphor. I want to try to describe what speaking English starts to feel like when it gets easier, because I think we need a better picture of what we're actually building toward.
Yes, go.
You know how if you've ever learned to type
At first, you have to look at every single key. You're thinking, where's the R, where's the T? Your fingers move one at a time. And then at some point, something shifts, and your fingers just know. And you're not thinking about your fingers at all anymore. You're just thinking about what you want to say.
And it feels completely different, like the machinery went underground.
Exactly. The machinery went underground. That's what happens with speaking. The grammar, the vocabulary, the pronunciation, they go underground. And when they do, you're not managing language anymore. You're just talking. And that feeling, that's what we're building toward. Not perfection, just automaticity.
And here's the thing about that shift. It doesn't happen from studying more. It happens from speaking more, specifically from speaking in ways that feel a little uncomfortable. The goal isn't to speak perfectly. It's to let the machinery go underground.
A common mistake. Okay, here is the thing that I think is genuinely holding a lot of people back, and it's something that feels like it should be helping. Shadowing, or more broadly, repeating other people's English. Listening to a podcast, repeating the sentences, memorizing phrases, which I want to be clear is not useless. It's actually a good ear training tool. But if it's the main thing you're doing to improve your speaking, then you are practicing something very specific. You are practicing speaking when someone has already told you what to say.
And that's not the hard part.
Right. The hard part is generating the words yourself in real time without a script. And the only way to practice that is to actually do it, to speak into uncertainty, to not know exactly what's coming out before it comes out.
And if you're listening right now thinking, but I don't have anyone to practice with, I can't just start speaking to no one, I want you to hear this. Speaking to yourself counts. It genuinely counts. Narrating your morning, describing what you see on the walk to work, arguing with yourself about a decision you're making. That's all real speaking practice because you are generating language in real time.
The brain doesn't know the difference between a conversation partner and a really engaged monologue with yourself. Repeating other people's words trains your ear. Only generating your own words trains your mouth. The second truth. Okay, here's where it gets real. If you are someone who has been studying English for a long time and you still feel self-conscious every time you speak, that self-consciousness is not a personality trait. It is not who you are. It is a very predictable side effect of practicing English mostly in private and then being asked to perform it in public.
It's stage fright. Literally, the exact same mechanism.
And stage fright doesn't go away by studying more lines. It goes away by being on stage more often, in lower stakes situations, until your nervous system learns that the stage is safe.
And if you were listening to this right now and you're thinking, I know all of this, I've heard all of this, I just can't seem to make myself do it, I want you to know that that resistance is normal. It is not weakness. It is your brain doing its job of keeping you safe from things that feel risky. Speaking a second language in front of people feels risky. Of course it does. You're allowed to find it hard.
And then you push through it anyway. Not because it stops feeling scary, but because you do it enough times that the scare gets smaller.
And you start to notice that even the conversations that go badly, even the ones where you forget a word or say something wrong, you survive them. And each time you survive one, your brain updates its record. It writes, this was okay. We can do this.
That's how confidence actually gets built. Not from feeling ready, from having evidence that you've done it before. Confidence isn't the thing you need before you speak. It's the thing you build by speaking.
Vocabulary woven through the conversation. You know, we've used some really specific words in this conversation, and I want to make sure we give them a second.
Yes, starting with the one that comes up for everyone in this situation. Hesitate. When you hesitate, you pause before doing something because you feel uncertain or a little afraid. It's not the same as thinking. Hesitation has anxiety in it. I know what I want to say, but I always hesitate before I say it. That pause before the words come, that's hesitation.
And connected to that, self-conscious. To feel self-conscious means you are hyper-aware of how you look to other people. You're watching yourself from the outside while also trying to function from the inside. And in a second language, that feeling can be almost unbearable because you feel like every mistake is visible.
It's different from shy. Important distinction. You can be the most confident person in your first language and completely self-conscious in your second. It's situational. It's not who you are.
Then articulate. To articulate something means to express it clearly, not just to say it, but to put it into words in a precise way that someone else can actually receive. I struggle to articulate my feelings in English. I know what I feel, I just can't find the right shape for it in words. It's a B2C1 word, and it'll make you sound very assured when you use it.
And rephrase, which is honestly one of the most useful speaking skills there is. To rephrase means to say the same thing in different words. When the exact word isn't coming, you rephrase. You describe around it. It's the thing you feel when someone does something kind and you didn't expect it. That's rephrasing, and it keeps you moving.
2 phrasal verbs I love. First, speak up. It has 2 meanings. Literally, to speak more loudly, but it also means to say something in a situation where it feels difficult or risky to do so. I finally spoke up in the meeting and gave my opinion. There's courage in that phrase.
And open up. To open up means to become willing to share things you'd usually keep inside. In speaking terms, it's that shift when you stop performing and start actually communicating. Since I started practicing more, I've really started to open up in English conversations.
And the idiom, break the ice. To break the ice means to do or say something that makes a conversation start more easily, especially with someone you don't know or in a situation that feels a bit stiff or awkward. She broke the ice by asking everyone about the worst English word they'd ever mispronounced. A little vulnerability goes a long way. Okay, so here is something you can actually use starting today. We call it the SPEAK method. 5 steps, each one designed to address a specific reason why speaking feels hard. Not just general advice, but solutions to real things. S, start anyway. The first step is simply to start speaking before you feel ready. Not when you've found the perfect words, not after you've mentally rehearsed the sentence. Just start. Open your mouth and let the first word come, even if you're not sure where the sentence is going. The rest usually follows. The waiting is almost always worse than the speaking. P, produce. Don't repeat. This is the step that surprises people. Stop spending your practice time repeating other people's English and start generating your own. Every day, spend at least 5 minutes speaking in English where you are making up the words yourself. Talking to yourself is completely valid. The goal is original production, not reproduction.
E. Extend every answer. Whenever you say something in practice or in real life, add one more sentence, just one. This sounds tiny, but it rewires something important. Fluent speakers don't stop at the first sentence. They extend, they elaborate. Training yourself to add one more sentence builds the habit of flow rather than the habit of stopping. A. Allow imperfection. Give yourself explicit permission to say things imperfectly. Not wrong, imperfect. This means no stopping mid-sentence to correct yourself, no starting over. If the grammar was off, keep going. If the word wasn't quite right, keep going. Stopping to self-correct breaks the flow and trains your brain to prioritize accuracy over communication. And in real conversation, communication always wins. K. Keep a speaking log. At the end of each day or each practice session, write down one thing that went well. Not what you got wrong, not what you want to improve, one specific moment where your English worked. This is the step most people skip and the one that matters most for confidence. Skill improves from practice, confidence improves from noticing. You need both. That's it, the SPEAK method. And when you try this, even just once, even just one step, come back and tell us what happened. We genuinely want to know. Start, produce, extend, allow, keep. That's the whole thing. Okay, let's do our word tour. These are the words from today that we really want to stay with you. Let's start with the one that lives in that moment Daniel described at the dinner party, the moment everything goes quiet. To freeze in a speaking situation means to suddenly be unable to speak or think, even though you know what you want to say. It's not forgetting, it's more like a sudden shutdown. It's that involuntary stop, like a computer that's trying to do too many things at once and just hangs. Example 1. I completely froze when the interviewer asked me to introduce myself. Example 2. She knows her English well, but she still freezes when she has to speak on the phone. Nuance. Freeze is more sudden and involuntary than hesitate. When you hesitate, you pause and then continue. When you freeze, the continuation isn't guaranteed. Use freeze when the stop felt physical, when your body was involved. Freeze. Daniel? Freeze.
And from freeze, we move to its softer cousin. To hesitate means to pause before doing something because you feel unsure or a little nervous. There's always a reason behind the hesitation. Doubt, fear, uncertainty. It's a held moment before the action. I always hesitate before I speak English with strangers. That pause, that breath, that's hesitation. Example 1. He hesitated for a moment, then decided to speak up anyway. Example 2, don't hesitate, just start talking and the words will come. Nuance, hesitate is softer than freeze and implies more agency. You can choose to stop hesitating. Freezing feels less like a choice. Hesitate. Maya, hesitate. And underneath both of those, the freeze and the hesitation is usually this. To feel self-conscious means to be overly aware of how you appear to other people, like you've stepped outside yourself and you're watching and judging at the same time as trying to speak. In a second language, that feeling is doubled because there's more to be judged. I feel so self-conscious when I speak English in meetings. You're not just speaking, you're watching yourself speak and worrying about what people think of what they're hearing. Example 1. She felt self-conscious about her accent at first, but after a few conversations, it stopped bothering her. Being self-conscious is natural. It means you care, but it gets in the way. Nuance. Self-conscious is not the same as shy or introverted. It's situational. You can be bold in one language and self-conscious in another. It's about vulnerability in that specific context. Self-conscious. Daniel? Self-conscious. Okay, the word that maybe means something different from what you thought.
Fluency is the ability to speak a language smoothly and without long stops. It's about flow, not accuracy. Someone can be fluent and still make mistakes. Someone can be fluent with an accent. Fluency just means the words keep coming.
Think of the word fluid, same root. Fluency is the liquid quality of speech, when it pours rather than drips.
Example 1. His fluency in English improved dramatically once he stopped worrying about mistakes. Example 2. Fluency is the goal. Accuracy is a bonus. Nuance. People confuse fluency with proficiency or accuracy. Fluency is specifically about smoothness and continuity. You can be highly accurate and not fluent. If you stop every few words, that's not fluent. You can be quite simple in your English and completely fluent.
Fluency.
Maya. Fluency.
Now here is a word that will make you sound like you really know what you're doing.
To articulate, as a verb, means to express something clearly in words. Not just to say it, but to put it into language in a way that captures exactly what you mean. She articulated the problem really clearly. She didn't just mention it, she put it into words precisely.
It can also be an adjective. He's very articulate, which means he expresses himself clearly and well. That is a genuine compliment.
Example 1. I find it hard to articulate my ideas in English when I'm nervous. Example 2. She's one of the most articulate speakers I've ever heard. Every word does something.
Articulate. Daniel. Articulate.
Rephrase.
And this one is, honestly, one of the most powerful tools in any speaker's bag. To rephrase means to say the same thing in different words, usually because you can't find the exact word you need or because the first version wasn't clear. Instead of stopping, you rephrase. It's like a feeling you get when something good happens and you didn't expect it. That warm, surprised feeling. You talked around the word. You kept going.
Rephrasing is what skilled speakers do constantly. It's not a weakness, it's a strategy.
Example 1. I couldn't remember the word commute, so I rephrased. I said my daily journey to work. Example 2. If they don't understand you, don't repeat louder. Rephrase. Rephrasing is intentional. It's different from correcting yourself. That's fixing a mistake. Rephrasing is choosing a different route to the same destination.
Rephrase. Maya. Rephrase.
Speak up. Now for our phrasal verbs, and the first one has a beautiful double meaning.
To speak up literally means to speak more loudly, but it also means to say something when it feels uncomfortable or risky to do so, to share your opinion when you might be afraid of the response. I finally spoke up and told them I disagreed. There's courage built into this phrase.
Speak up. We can't hear you. Or, I was nervous, but I spoke up anyway. Two completely different situations. Same phrase.
She finally spoke up about the problem she'd been keeping to herself. Example 2. Don't be afraid to speak up in class. Your question is probably everyone's question. Nuance. The bravery meaning of speak up is the more interesting and more common one in everyday conversation. When someone tells you to speak up, they might mean volume, but when someone says you should speak up, they almost always mean say the thing you're holding back. Speak up. Maya, speak up.
Open up. And from speaking up to something a little softer.
To open up means to become willing to share things you'd usually keep inside, to stop holding back in a conversation and start actually connecting. Since I started practicing more, I've really opened up in English. You're not performing anymore. You're actually saying what you mean.
It's got warmth in it. When someone opens up, you feel it. There's a shift in the conversation. It becomes real.
Example 1. It took a few lessons before he started to open up, but now he talks all the time. Example 2. The best conversations happen when both people feel comfortable enough to open up. Nuance. Open up is warmer and more personal than share or express. It implies that something was closed before. There's a sense of trust involved. You open up to someone, not just in general.
Open up. Daniel, open up.
Break the ice. And our idiom for today, one that's genuinely useful and not as overused as people think.